What if I told you there are vegetables you can tuck into the ground this fall, walk away from completely, and come back next spring to find dinner waiting for you? No watering through winter storms, no worrying about frost damage, no babying them through cold snaps. Just plant, forget, and harvest. Sounds too good to be true? Stick around because I'm about to flip everything you thought you knew about winter gardening on its head. Welcome back to Earthly Gardening, where we prove that growing your own food doesn't have to drain your wallet or consume your weekends. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found us because today's video is going to save you money, time, and a whole lot of winter anxiety. And to my returning viewers, thank you for being part of this growing community. You all inspire me every single day with your comments and garden wins. Before we dig into these 5 incredible vegetables, do me a quick favor. If you want more budget-friendly gardening tips that actually work in the real world, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you'll want to catch every video we drop because we're all about making gardening ridiculously simple and affordable. Alright, let's get into it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Forget about plants all winter? That sounds like a recipe for disaster, right? Wrong. What I'm about to share with you flies in the face of everything mainstream gardening culture teaches us. We've been conditioned to believe that plants need constant attention, that winter means the end of fresh produce, and that successful gardening requires endless effort. But here's the truth nobody talks about. Some vegetables are actually tougher than we are. They laugh at frost. They thrive in conditions that would make us run inside for hot cocoa. And the best part? They don't want your help. In fact, fussing over them during winter can actually hurt your harvest. Today, we're covering 5 vegetables that work with nature instead of against it. These aren't your typical garden center recommendations. These are the underrated champions that seasoned gardeners whisper about but somehow never make it into beginner guides. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why planting these 5 this fall might be the smartest gardening decision you make all year. Vegetable 1. Garlic. Let's start with something that sounds familiar, but trust me, the way we're approaching this is different. Garlic. Now before you click away thinking you already know everything about garlic, hear me out. Most people treat garlic like it's fragile. They baby it, worry about it, check on it constantly. But garlic is basically the Wolverine of the vegetable world. It wants cold. It needs cold. Those freezing temperatures actually trigger the cloves to divide and form those beautiful bulbs you'll harvest next summer. Here's the uncommon approach. Plant your garlic cloves 4 to 6 inches deep in October or early November, depending on where you live. Most guides tell you 2 inches, but that shallow planting makes people nervous all winter. Go deeper. At 4 to 6 inches, your garlic is protected, insulated, and completely unbothered by whatever winter throws at it. Break apart your bulbs, use the biggest, healthiest cloves, pointy end up, and space them about 6 inches apart. Then here's the secret. Cover them with a thick layer of mulch. We're talking 4 to 6 inches of shredded leaves, straw, or wood chips. This does 2 magical things. First, it moderates soil temperature so your garlic isn't dealing with constant freeze-thaw cycles. Second, it suppresses weeds so when spring arrives, your garlic gets a head start without competition. Now walk away. Seriously, don't water it unless you're in the middle of an unusual drought. Don't dig around to check on it. Don't lift the mulch to peek. Garlic planted in fall is programmed by thousands of years of evolution to do its thing without you. Come spring, you'll see green shoots popping through that mulch, and by early summer, you'll be pulling up bulbs that cost you maybe 10 minutes of effort total. The money you save here is incredible. A single bulb from the grocery store can give you 8 to 12 cloves to plant. That's potentially 12 new bulbs next year. You've just turned $3 into $30 or $40 worth of organic garlic. That's the earthly gardening way. Vegetable 2. Walking onions. Alright, number 2 is where things get really interesting. Walking onions. And no, I haven't lost my mind. These are real, and they're about to become your new obsession. Walking onions, also called Egyptian onions or tree onions, are the ultimate set-it-and-forget-it vegetable. Here's how they work, and this is going to sound like something out of a fantasy novel. These onions grow tall stalks, and instead of producing flowers at the top, they produce clusters of tiny bulbs. These top bulbs get heavy, the stalk bends over, the bulbs touch the ground, and they plant themselves. Hence the name walking onions, because they literally walk across your garden bed year after year. You plant them once this fall and they'll feed you forever. Not an exaggeration. The bulbs underground are edible, similar to shallots. The green tops are edible, just like scallions. And those little bulbs that form on top? Also edible, and they're packed with intense onion flavor. Plant the bulblets or divisions about 4 inches deep, 6 inches apart, in a spot where you don't mind them spreading. They're perennial, which means they come back every single year without replanting. Through winter, they're completely dormant. You won't see them, they won't need anything from you, and they're developing their root systems underground. The uncommon knowledge here is that most gardeners overlook walking onions because they sound weird or complicated. But they're the opposite. They're the laziest vegetable you can grow. Plant them this fall, forget about them all winter, and next spring you'll have fresh onion flavor available whenever you want it. For years, without spending another dime. Hey, quick pause. If you're finding value in this video, do me a huge favor and tap that like button. It helps this content reach more people who are trying to garden on a budget without all the overwhelm. And drop a comment below telling me which of these vegetables you're most excited to try. I read every single comment, and I love hearing about your plans. Seriously, your engagement keeps this channel going and helps build this amazing community we've got. Alright, back to it. Vegetable 3, Clatonia. Number 3 is going to surprise you because most people have never heard of it. Clatonia, also called miner's lettuce or winter purslane. This is where we get into truly uncommon territory. Clatonia is a cold season green that actually tastes better after a frost. While your neighbors are paying $5 for a tiny container of spring mix at the grocery store in January, you could be harvesting fresh, crisp, slightly tangy salad greens right from under the snow. Yes, under the snow. Here's how it works. Clatonia seeds are tiny, almost like dust. In late September or October, scatter them over prepared soil, barely cover them with a light dusting of compost or soil, water them in, and then leave them alone. They'll germinate within a week or two, form small rosettes of spoon-shaped leaves, and then just sit there all winter. The uncommon approach is this. Most greens bolt or turn bitter in temperature swings, but Clatonia thrives in the chaos of winter. It doesn't care about snow cover. In fact, snow acts like a protective blanket. When you get a mild winter day and the snow melts, you can go out, brush off the plants, and harvest handfuls of greens. Then the snow comes back, and the plants just wait for you again. You can succession plant Clatonia every few weeks in fall, and it will self-seed year after year once established. It's basically a perennial salad green that costs you pennies for a seed packet and gives you gourmet greens all winter. The flavor is mild, slightly lemony, and the texture is succulent and crunchy. Toss it in salads, use it as a sandwich topping, or throw it into smoothies. This vegetable flies completely under the radar, but once you grow it, you'll wonder why everyone isn't talking about it. It's cold hardy down to about 10 degrees Fahrenheit without protection, and with a simple row cover or cold frame, it'll keep producing in even harsher conditions. Vegetable 4, Multiplier onions. Number 4, Multiplier onions, also known as potato onions or pregnant onions. These are different from walking onions, and they operate on a completely different level of efficiency. Here's the deal with multiplier onions. You plant one bulb in the fall, and by next summer, that single bulb has divided underground into 5 to 10 new bulbs. It's like planting money that grows more money, except it's onions that grow more onions. The process is stupidly simple. In October or early November, plant your multiplier onion sets about 2 inches deep and 8 inches apart. Cover them with mulch and walk away. All winter long, while you're binge-watching shows and forgetting they exist, those onions are underground multiplying. The cold triggers the division process. Come spring, green shoots will emerge, and you'll let them grow through early summer. When the tops start to fall over and turn yellow, that's your signal. Dig them up, and you'll find a cluster of bulbs where you planted just one. Keep the biggest ones for eating, save a few medium-sized ones for replanting next fall, and suddenly you've got a self-sustaining onion system that costs you nothing after the initial purchase. The uncommon angle here is that multiplier onions store incredibly well. We're talking 6 to 9 months in a cool, dry place. So you plant in fall, harvest in summer, eat through fall and winter, and replant what you saved. It's a closed-loop system that breaks the cycle of buying onions from the store every week. And the flavor is phenomenal. Multiplier onions tend to be sweeter and more complex than standard storage onions, with a depth that makes everything you cook taste elevated. Vegetable 5. Fava beans. Alright, number 5 is the heavyweight champion of fall planting. Fava beans, also called broad beans. And here's why: they're not just about the harvest, they're about transforming your soil while you sleep. Fava beans are legumes, which means they have a superpower. They pull nitrogen from the air and store it in nodules on their roots. Nitrogen is plant food, the same stuff you pay good money for in fertilizer bags. Fava beans make it for free and leave it in your soil for the next crop. So you're not just growing food, you're improving your garden for the future. Plant fava bean seeds in late September through November, depending on your region. Push them about 2 inches deep, space them 4 inches apart, and water them in. Then forget about them. They'll germinate, grow a few inches, and then basically pause for winter. They're sitting there, quietly fixing nitrogen, building root systems, and waiting for spring warmth. When spring arrives, those fava beans explode with growth. By late spring or early summer, you'll have tall plants covered in beautiful white and black flowers, followed by large pods filled with creamy, buttery beans. Fresh fava beans taste nothing like the dried ones you might be thinking of. They're tender, slightly sweet, and absolutely delicious. But here's the best part, and this is the uncommon knowledge that changes everything. You don't have to harvest all the beans. You can eat some, then chop the plants down while they're still green and tender, and turn them into the soil. This is called green manure, and it's like injecting your garden beds with premium compost. All that nitrogen gets released, and your summer vegetables that follow will grow like they're on steroids. Fava beans are also cold-hardy down to about 15 degrees Fahrenheit, so they're tough as nails. They laugh at frost. They actually prefer cool weather. And they're one of the few vegetables that can germinate in cold soil, which is why fall planting works so beautifully. So let's recap what we've covered here. 5 vegetables that completely change the game when it comes to fall planting. Garlic that wants you to ignore it. Walking onions that plant themselves. Clatonia that grows under snow. Multiplier onions that make more of themselves. And fava beans that feed both you and your soil. The common thread here is simple. These vegetables don't need you hovering over them. They're adapted to the cold. They're designed by nature to thrive in conditions that shut down most other plants. And they save you serious money because you're harvesting food during the most expensive time of year to buy fresh produce. This approach is the opposite of what big gardening companies want you to believe. They want you dependent on products, constantly buying, constantly worrying. But real gardening, the kind that's been practiced for thousands of years, works with nature's rhythms. Fall planting into winter dormancy into spring harvest is one of the oldest and most reliable patterns we have. If this video opened your eyes to a different way of thinking about winter gardening, please subscribe to Earthly Gardening. We're building a community of people who refuse to believe that growing food has to be expensive, complicated, or time-consuming. Hit that notification bell so you catch every video where we break down real, practical, budget-friendly gardening methods. And seriously, comment below. Tell me if you've grown any of these vegetables before. Tell me which one you're planting first. Tell me if you think I'm crazy for saying you can forget about plants all winter. I want to hear from you because that's what makes this community special. If you found this valuable, share it with someone who's been wanting to start gardening but feels overwhelmed. This could be the video that changes their relationship with growing food. Thanks for watching, thanks for being part of this journey, and I'll see you in the next video where we keep making gardening simple, affordable, and actually enjoyable. Until then, get those hands dirty, and remember, the best time to plant was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Happy gardening, everyone.